This podcast is brought to you by The Shift.
So I forgot to start the screen recording, so I'll just do the intro again if you don't mind. Poor Chris.
It's story time.
Hello and welcome back to Storytime Podcast. The Storytime Take 2, version 2, season 2, whatever you want to call it, is brought to you by The Shift podcast networks. And today I have with me someone I'm a big fan of, Chris Murphy, ChrisIsAinmDom. How are you, Chris?
Oh my God, I'm amazing. A big fan. Thank you for that.
And would you like to tell everyone where to find you on the internet before we get into the meat of the issue?
Yeah, so I'm ChrisIsAinmDom, probably most known from TikTok and then maybe Instagram, and then I tweet once or twice a year.
Yeah, well, you're ChrisIsAinmDom on all platforms, aren't you?
Exactly,
yeah, and so for the non-Irish speakers listening, ChrisIsAinmDom means my name is Chris. And I will put the links everywhere so that people can find you easily. So I just want to say thank you so much for your patience. We were trying to get this started for a few minutes. It's my first time using this online podcasting program. So thank you very much for that. And then I just wanted to say to you that before we get into your story, which I presume is very good, what is it? Do you want to tell everyone what it's about?
About a hookup. I hope that's okay.
Oh yeah, of course. Anything you want to go as far as you want. You can curse. You can do whatever you want on this.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I just want to say to you first that I was going to start a new podcast, actually, rather than bring the Storytime podcast back for a while. I was thinking about starting a new podcast called Fangirl, which was going to be where I just brought someone on that I really, really liked and just fangirled over them for 20 minutes.
Yes.
But I figured that I could incorporate a mini element of fangirl into the Storytime podcast. So I'm just going to take a minute before you start your story to just tell you that I absolutely love your content. I think what you're doing is so amazing. I'm so impressed. I admire what you're doing so much. I'm so jealous of what you're doing. It's so good. And I think that in particular, your TikToks are just so original. I can see so much effort goes into them. I presume that people will underestimate how much work making TikToks actually is.
Yeah.
But I can tell that you put such effort into yours. It's just amazing. And I'm a big fan of all that you do. And also, I love your nails. You always have the most amazing nails in your TikToks.
Oh, they're nails right now. I need to get them done again. Oh my God, honestly, but and as the same thing, it could have been fangirling. Honestly, even with me, I've been watching you for ages, literally since the Shy Irish Girl Say all the way to Australia journey, and literally for ages. And my sister as well is absolutely in love with you as well. She's obsessed, and she was like, "You're gonna be on Clisare's podcast." She's my older sister. She's 28, so she's just been watching you for ages as well.
Yeah.
She's just
she's grown up with me. She's the same age as me, nearly. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. And honestly, I think there's a collab in the works there for TikTok or some sort of something Oscailga.
Oh, definitely, yeah. No, I'm definitely up for it, but I'm not as good at making TikToks now as you. Mine are a bit rougher around the edges.
We'll get to there. You've worked this out, so.
I've also make a good few TikToks off your sounds. I think you made a song about the Gaeilge with using the.
When I got cancelled on. I was like, oh my God, all the we'll piss off all the British, and then all the Irish were like, okay, we hate you, and I was like, no, we're on the same team.
Yeah, I actually got a few messages being like, oh, cringe, and I was like, so what? Mine was cringe. I was just dancing and hair stuck to my face and everything, but TikTok is so much fun. That's the point of it.
Yeah, it's just a bit of banter.
So, tell me your story.
Right, now this is going to be a lot. How long do we have?
As long as you want.
It's like a saga, honestly. This is my icebreaker story with a lot of people just because I think it's quite funny.
Okay.
We're basically flashback to 2016 maybe. And I'm in college. And it's this random day. It's all my assignments are due. I woke up late and literally panicked to get them all submitted because we were out the night before. And we were out the night before. Actually, this is kind of Halloween themed. I know it's a little bit late, but sort of that moment. I was dressed as Iron Man the night before. We went out to a place called War. Do you remember War?
No.
No! Oh my God. If anyone remembers War, it was this kind of almost exclusively gay nightclub that was like in Andrews Lane Theatre 212.
Oh my God, yeah, okay. I think I remember something there, yeah.
So prior to Hangar, there was a place called War,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was like kind of I think it was yeah, it wasn't strictly a gay club, but it was like for the gays.
And sorry, I'm presuming you grew up in Dublin for context.
No, so this is when I was in. So I live in Meath. I'm back here again. I did live in Dublin for 2 years of college. So I was living in Clonskeagh. Sorry, so I was in UCD. I'm very, very bad at giving context. So like, oh, everyone knows. So I was in UCD studying English and drama, and I was in my final year. And we go out all the time. And we decided to go out that night, and then we met up with a few lads. Everything was fine. And then the next day, I forgot I had all these assignments due. So I was like, oh my God. I got them all submitted eventually. And then I got a text. So I was absolutely skint because I used to just go out all the time and I had no money. And I was so afraid to ask my mum and dad for money because I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be living independent, blah, 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 Clonskeagh. Like, it was a big deal. And I was like, oh my God, I actually need to get a job. So I was looking to get a part-time job. And I don't know whether it's still there. Do you remember Hamleys in Dundrum? Is that still there?
I have no idea. I'm not from Dublin myself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But in Dundrum, there's like this toy store I think it's called Hamleys. And they were doing auditions for elves. So I had to audition to be an elf.
Okay, you cut out there slightly. What were they doing audition for?
Sorry. They were just the suspense.
Yeah,
they were doing auditions for elves.
Oh my God, amazing.
So like the elves would go on like tour, like it was a huge deal, but the elves would go on tour and like kind of like go to different schools and stuff and like promote the toy store and then like try to get people to come in. So I was doing that, right? But they get me a text that day and I was like, oh my God, I'm actually hungover to high fuck, so I don't know whether I'll be able to go down here and do this. Like, so I was like, no, I'll be grand. And then they told me to meet them outside Harvey Nichols on the top floor. And I was like, okay. So I get there and I was like, oh, this is definitely going to be like some sort of like go into a room and do an audition, because I didn't know what they want me to do, because on the Indeed post there was like 3 bullet points of what was required. Okay, so I really didn't know what I got myself into. Basically, when I got up there, there was a stage. Set up outside Build-A-Bear in Dundrum, and I was like, this is so random, like what is this? And then I came over to one of the girls, and one of the girls who was dressed as an elf, and I was like, hi, I'm here to audition as an elf. I'm sure like you know where I'm meant to be because you're an elf. And she's like, oh yeah, what's the name? I was like, Chris. She goes, you'll be up next. And I was like, up next? Like what does this mean? I had to go on stage, and I was like, I didn't know. She goes, did you not get the text? And I look at the text and it was like, they have an audition prepared, and I didn't know what that meant. Like, so I was meant to get on stage, tell a joke and sing a song to this fictional Santa Claus who was gonna, like, with all these other kids who were sitting in an audience who were gonna judge whether I was good or not. And I was like, oh my God, I'm far too hungover for this. So like I was literally about to snake out, and then your one goes, right, you're up. And I was like, oh my God. And then she goes, what's your favorite Christmas song? And I just couldn't think of a Christmas song, like in the top of my head. I stand on stage, couldn't think of a Christmas song. She just goes, jingle bells, jingle bells. So me and my big hoarse voice sang Jingle Bells for all these kids to zero applause. And anyway, that was like, it was so embarrassing. I was just standing there singing it. And then I couldn't think of it. They want me to tell a Christmas joke, and all my mind just went to all these dirty Christmas jokes. And I was like, please don't tell one of those. I can't even remember what I said. I think it was the chicken cross the road joke. So I was like, that's the only one that I know for a fact is safe. Anyway, so basically I ended up leaving, and I definitely didn't get the job. That was so embarrassing. And on the way back, sorry, this is a long-winded story, but on the way back, I was like, I had all the elf costume because they told me to keep it because that they might need me to come back. So I'm dressed as an elf, and I don't have my other clothes on because I ran to Dundrum and I was all sweaty. So I'm dressed as an elf walking back to my apartment, and then your man from the night before messages me and he goes, what are you up to today? And I was like, oh, not much. Just dressed as an elf, you know, the standard. So he was like, oh, do you want to hang out? And I was like, oh no, I can't really. Like, I was just like, I'm actually such a mess, I'm not hanging out. And he goes, oh no, come on, we should hang out. And I was like, ugh. And he goes, we can go get food. And like, this is so bad because I was thinking, I was like, this is at the same time, which probably doesn't even make much of a difference, but my my bank card expired, right? Which probably didn't make much of a difference because there was nothing in it, but it was expired, so I literally could not use the, like,
Yes, you're like, oh, sorry, I don't actually have a bank card.
So I was like, that's like a pretty good excuse, like, you know, if I do meet, I'm like, I completely forgot. So I was like, oh, yes, I need to eat. So I was like, okay. I was like, hey, yeah, like, give me a few minutes. And he's like, okay. So I'm walking back to my apartment and he goes, oh, I remember you live in Clonskee, right? And I was like, I don't remember offering that information, but okay, yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. He goes, well, I'll be swinging by there in about 20. And I was like, 20? Because, like, walking back from Dundrum, it's literally about a 20-minute walk. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to run in this elf costume and get ready to get changed. So then when I get back to the apartment, he messaged me and he's like, oh, I'm around the corner. I'm at a Spar, which is like the best Spar ever, right beside an off-license called Higgins, which is like my favorite place. But he was just parked there and he was in, oh my God, I don't even remember the name of the car. Like, it was like this really fancy car and everyone like, a 6 Series? 6 Series, is that a car?
I think there's a BMW 6 Series, yeah, but I don't know much about cars either.
Oh no, I was messaging my friends along the way, like telling them, I was like, what, this is jumping ahead. But anyway, so then I was like, I don't want them to know where I live. So it's like, I'll be around in 2 minutes. So I literally got in, had like the quickest shower, didn't wash my hair. And then I was like, so this is like hair from the night before that went on stage in Hamleys as an elf. And then when I got all changed and I got back to I got back to the Spar and I met up with him and I was like, hey. And then I was messaging my friends along the way, right? So then we ended up going out for dinner. I can't even remember where. I think it was like, not Wow Burger, but one of those, or Eddie Rockets or something. And I did the whole, oh my God, my card, like, I didn't even know it was expired thing, which is horrible. I don't recommend doing. Actually, I just felt so bad. I was like, I wish I could, like, I don't know. There was no Revolut or anything like that at the time, but like, I wish I could like PayPal him or like give him some sort of money. So then, oh my God, this is getting so long. But basically then he was like, oh, what do you want to do now? And I was like, so you can drop me back at the Spar, like, you know, I'm fed, I'm ready, like, you know, bye. And he's like, oh, come back to mine for a little bit. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And he was like, oh no, do. And like, no, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to pretend that I wouldn't have done that usually, but it was just because I felt so gross after the whole day that I've had. I was like, my mind is just not in the same spot for this. But anyway, of course I went back and it's me. So I ended up going back and he lived in like North Dublin. I'm not going to give his whole address away or his name or anything. This is completely anonymous for him. Have not talked to him in ages.
Basically, he lived pretty far away.
Yeah, so it was like the other side of Dublin. So it was literally like, okay, that's fine. Like, it was fine to drive, obviously. It was only like, what, 20-minute drive. So I was like,
but if
okay,
you'd had
perfect.
to get a bus back, it would have taken a long time.
Oh, bus would have been like, I actually probably better walking, honestly. Like, the buses are such a joke. Especially at the time as well, they were doing up everything. Like, do you remember when Trinity was getting done up?
Vaguely, yeah.
All the buses just rerouted. And like,
oh, yes, I do remember this was pain. It was such a pain, yeah.
It was like, I didn't know whether they were coming or going. Like, when you stand at Trinity, you're like, is this going to UCD or like UCD? Like, oh, we're going to come from UCD. I'm like, are you going towards UCD? Like, they were very vague. But it was It was a horrible time. Anyway, so I was like, okay, yeah. So we went back to his, and that night happened. What I'll say, but I was like kind of confused because he was like probably, I think he was like 26. I think I was 22 at the time. I think he was 26, and I was like, no, I wasn't 20. I couldn't have been 22. I think I was like 21, maybe. It was my last year of college. Yeah, 21. I think I was. So he was 26, which is probably fine. And I was like, how does he have all this money? Like, do you know what I mean? Because his apartment was so nice. Like, when I say so nice, I mean, like, I would love to get this by the time I'm 50. Like, this is like, you know, goals for like my whole entire life savings to make it to this. So I was just a bit confused. And he had a waterbed as well, which I thought was so strange. Like, that's just a weird thing. It was cool, but it was just kind of, I was like, anyway. So the next day I woke up and I was just like such a head wreck because we were drinking. And then I woke up and I was like, oh my God, all over the place. I look at my phone, I had like 10 missed calls. I was like, what is going on? Like, where am I? And then some of my friends were ringing me and asked me, like, was I okay? Because last time they heard from me, I was in his computer, he's going back to his and just right back. And I was like, yeah, fine. And then I was like, My other calls were from my parents. And I was like, oh, it's Sunday. I have Sunday dinner booked in with them in the Goat.
Oh,
right?
God.
And it was like, that was at 1 o'clock, and it was literally like 20 past 12. And I was like, I'm not going to make it back to Clonskeagh on time. Like, and they're going to be like, where the fuck are you? Like, because you've no excuse not to be in your house. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is actually a nightmare. What am I going to do? So I asked your man, I was like, you're going to have to drop me back. And he's like, no, please, you have to drop me back. You should drop me back. I'm going to get in trouble. Like, I'm going to be in so much trouble. And then I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get back. So then he, like, reluctantly was like, fine, I'll drop you back, right? So he gets all dressed in, like, just, like, head to toe, like, hoodie and, like, just, like, hungover and just, like, totally over it. Kind of what I wear now. And I was like, once you hit 26, you just give up on fashion. So we get into his car, we drive back, we're driving back, and then we're driving. This is where I'm like, oh my God, that was the craziest weekend. Like in my head, like I'm messaging my friends like, this is the craziest weekend, and they're like, oh my God, like you're so funny, you're racing it back from the clock to your parents' house, and or to your house to meet your parents, like this is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, like my life's just so wild, right? I had no idea that was gonna get like 10 times worse. So we're driving back to mine, and we're coming along by the Aviva. Is it Aviva or the
the Aviva?
No, not the Aviva. Yeah.
Or
was it
do you mean the Crow Park?
No, it was the Aviva. Yeah, because that's up by UCD. Yeah.
Yes, the Aviva is the south side one. Yeah.
We're driving there, right? So he's sitting there in his hood, right? And then all these big, I was like, we're gonna make it. It'll be fine. I was looking at Google Maps. It said it was okay. Like, you know, like 13 minutes till we get back or whatever. And then next thing we turn the corner and there's all these fans and there's some game on, right? And I literally don't know shit about sports. Like, I just don't know anything, right? But I knew Ireland was playing because people had been talking about it. So Ireland was playing someone on this Sunday.
And do you know what sport it was?
I think it was rugby.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does Aviva do rugby?
Yeah, no, the Aviva does rugby, yeah.
It's so funny because my dad was like, you've never been to the Aviva? And I was like, yes, I have. I've been for Lady Gaga and Rihanna, so I know exactly what happened to the Aviva. But yeah, so we're driving by the Aviva concert studio. No, we're driving by and there's all these rugby fans walking around, and obviously the guards are kind of not letting some cars through, and whatever way it works, like, 'cause, you know, you're not meant to be driving down there, it becomes pedestrianized or whatever during the games. So we're driving down, right, and next thing they were like, this guard was like, she was like, pull over to us, and I was like, fuck's sake, I haven't got time for this. Like, I just haven't got time for this. And she pulls him over, okay, and then she was like, she goes to your man. She's like, give me your license. He's like, I don't have to give you out. And I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? I have to meet my fucking parents. What are you doing? He's like, I don't have to give you out. And he was like getting really tick with her. Like, he was a little bit kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word to say. Rough and ready? Is that like?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. Which I have no problem with, obviously, because it's happened to him. But anyway, so he was kind of giving her all that, like, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, I was just getting so mad, right? And then she was like, she got him to step out of the car, right? And she said she was going to frisk him. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's getting a lot, right? And then she was like, I need all the papers for the car, insurance and all this shit, right? And like literally really went in, right? And I was like, oh my God, like he's being treated like a criminal. So then I'm sitting in the passenger seat, kind of like texting my mom and dad. I'm like, yeah, I'm just leaving the library now, so it'll be another like 10 minutes. Like, don't worry. But they're there, like they're at my house. And I was like, oh God. And then the guard leans into me and she just goes, she's like, who are you? And I was like, my name's Chris. And she was like, can I see, do you have any ID? And I gave her my provisional license. And I was like, here you go, like, so she looked at my license and she was like, Mead, what are you doing down here for Mead, right? Which I was like, I'm allowed to be wherever I need to be, like, do you know what I mean? And she was like, I didn't say that to her, obviously. I was just like,
you weren't like your man being like, I don't have to give you anything.
Yeah, I was like, here's my license, here's my library card, my expired bank card, here's my ELF ID. I was like, I was just so in shock. I was like, oh my God, like, because you know, like, do you know, like, your first kind of encounter probably with the guards, like, you're really kind of like skittish, like, and I always feel like I've done something wrong, even though I haven't, like, and I always act guilty. I don't know why. So I'm sitting there and she just goes, right, will you stand out the other side of the car? I need to ask you a few questions. And I was like, I was like, oh my God. So I'm standing there, right? And I'm kind of like panicking because she's getting me all riled up. And then my phone's like going 90 in my pocket because my parents are messaging me and my friends are like, what's going on? Like, because they love the drama. Not that I didn't, but not at the time. So we get to, so I'm standing at the side of the road outside of his car with all these fans walking by, like literally staring at me. Some of them taking pictures and being like, oh, look at these people like slowing down the road and all this, whatever. And she just goes, I just don't understand. Like, how do you know him? Right. And I won't say his name, but she was like, how do you know him?
So she knew him by name, like?
She knew him by name.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I need to give him like a pseudonym or like.
I need to put you in witness protection after this story.
This will be my last podcast. So yeah, I'll just say Mr. X. This is a lot. So she just goes, how do you know Mr. X? And I was like, oh, like, you know, and she was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know when she just probably couldn't believe that he was gay. Like, I don't know what her issue was, but she just was like, I don't know how you know him. Like, is he your friend? And I was like, we met like last night. No, the night before. We met Halloween night. Like, you know, I was like really romantic. You know, I was dressed as Iron Man. He didn't even have a costume. Oh my God, what is that? So then I was like, that's how I know him. Like, I don't actually know him. And she's like, all right. She goes, we need to be really careful who you mix with. And I was like, okay. And she goes, you know that like we have him on our files and stuff. And I was like, oh, and I was like, that doesn't sound good. And then she was like, yeah, she goes, we're like really sure this car is stolen. And I was like, oh my God, what? And she's like, yeah, this car is stolen. Like, he doesn't have the papers for it. And I was like, ooh, not the 6 Series. Like,
you're like, is there any chance you can just let him drop me to the goat and then take it off?
What do I do? I need to get to the goat. So I just said to her, I was like, I'm not involved here. And she's like, yeah, no. She goes, from what you've told me, like, it just seems like you just got tangled up in this. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, but we can't. He had some papers to prove that it was his car or belonged to someone he knew, but he didn't have the right stuff or something. But she didn't have enough to take a bin on or something. I don't even know what it was, but he talked his way out of it. And then she was like, right. She goes, he has to bring the car down to the Garda station tonight and with all of his documents. And if he doesn't, then we're going to take it off him. And I was like, okay. And then and she was like, but you need to be. And she just leaned into me. She's like, you need to be really careful, like, at who you make friends with. And then she was like, she had to like make friends with, like, and she knew, like, she's like, get off it, you know? I was like, okay, I'm so sorry. And then so we got back in the car and we were driving towards my house, and I was like, do I ask him? I'm like, how do you say, like, so are you a criminal?
Did you just steal the car? How did the guard know you my name?
Yeah, and I was like, what happened? And he's like, oh, you know. And I was like, no, I really don't. Like, I'm so stupid and innocent. Like, not even like innocent, just actually so naive and so like ignorant of the whole saga. Like, I just don't understand any of it, like, especially at the time. And then he just goes, you know, I do a little bit of dealing and stuff. And I was like, oh no, I didn't sleep with a drug dealer. No. And then like my mind was so bad, like it just completely went to like, he put something in my drink or he did this, that, and the other. But then I was like, he was really nice to me. Like, he wasn't mean to me. He wasn't like, well, in my opinion, I don't know whether I was drugged, who knows. Anyway.
Drug dealers are people too.
Well, they are. They are people. I don't know. I was really skittish. But I got really upset as well because she took a photo of my license, and I was so sure that she was going to like send something back to the house. And obviously, my parents' address is on my driver's license. So for the next like while, I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be it. Like, they're going to see this letter come through the door being like, Chris was found with some drug dealer in the Aviva, and like, you know, yeah, I was like, oh,
that would have been big trouble. Imagine trying to explain that one.
I know, there wasn't, well, through a podcast.
Just send them a link.
Yeah, I'll just send them an link. They don't know what a podcast is. Thank God. So yeah, anyway, basically he was able to drop me back to the Spar literally like 10 hours later. And I just walked back to my house and my parents were sitting there and I was like, hey, and I was like, sorry, I got caught up in the library. And they're like, oh, that's okay, like blah blah blah. No books, no bag, no anything. No laptop. And they're like,
just chose to believe you.
Yeah, exactly. And then I went back in and I was like, I'm just going to get changed really quick because I was like, I am disgusting right now because I'm still like, you know, I still feel like I'm like that elf moment.
Yeah.
So I went back in, I got changed. And then we went to dinner in the Goat and I sat there. My mom was like, how was your weekend? And I was like, still kind of like this because of like my, like, the whole realization of like what happened and like obviously being pulled over by the guards was like scared the living shit out of me because I'm just like such a goody two shoes that I was like, fine, like a great weekend, like just chill. Like, and she goes, did you go out for Halloween? And I was like, yeah, just like a quiet night out. And she goes, you have enough money and everything? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. So, yeah, that's it's really weird.
That's so it was War you met him in originally, was it? On the Halloween night? Yeah.
Which honestly is the best place. It was the best place ever. My favorite.
That is a mad hookup story.
I just think the whole elf moment as well just makes it so much worse.
Yeah,
I was like, this random bit in the middle tossed in.
Oh,
me
you're frozen on me. You're back.
But, oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just talking about the elf.
And come here. So since you've started doing TikToks and you've gained a following, like, has that person reached out to you or any other kind of?
No, I think like because we were friends on Facebook, me and this guy, but I have since not deleted him because I was like, maybe not this in my life. Maybe I don't want to be attached to this if I'm trying to do some, TikTok. But yeah, no, some other people have reached out to me, which is so funny. Like, I'm sure you know the same. Like as soon as you put up something and it goes big, you're kind of like, oh, look who's coming out of the woodwork,
Yeah. That is such a good story. I love how your parents like just chose to believe you. There's no way, like, surely they couldn't when you rocked in, no books, no nothing. They were like, yeah, sure, honestly, like, library.
Yeah. Like I literally did the walk of shame back to my parents, and I was like, hey, like, and they were like, yeah, that's fine.
I thought originally the story was going to go the way that like you went off dressed as an elf. I was like,
on the day.
Yeah, so no. I was like, I was glad you went home and got changed. I was like, ooh.
I just about got home and changed, but I just thought like that whole like the fact that happened at the same time, the elf and like the embarrassment of standing on stage and singing to these kids with a hoarse voice, hungover, like sweaty, minging, and then the Santa being like, oh, we don't know whether we need another elf and all this shite, and like basically was like, you're a shit elf. I was like, oh, great, I'm hungover. I didn't get my assignments on time. My card's expired. I have no money, and now I'm not going to be an elf. Yeah. And then I kind of like, I don't know.
So when you were at your lowest.
So then what?
When you were at your lowest, you swooped in a 6 series.
When I'm at my lowest, first of all, Santa kicks me. Like the Santa Claus kicks me down, and then someone in a 6 series.
Oh, that's an amazing story. Can you remind everyone where to find you online? And I will have the links down in the descriptions. Yeah,
so it's just ChrisIsAinmDom on all platforms, but TikTok's probably my most active one.
And thank you so much for coming on the Storytime Podcast. I really enjoyed that story.
I hope you did.
If you ever think of any other good stories you want to come on and share, you're always welcome to come back.
Oh my God, I'll be on next week.
So thank you so much, and thank you for listening and watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Please follow on the podcast is available on any audio platform you prefer as well. And yeah, we shall see you next week. Thank you so much, Chris.
Salon.
This podcast was brought to you by The Shift. For more like this, check out theshift.ie.